Bradford, Unit 27.1. Today I'm going to talk to you about futsal and the technical demands. Firstly, in futsal there are many tactical requirements needed to play the game well. One of those is shooting. When shooting, you should have your body position at a slight angle, head over the ball, and strike through the ball with the laces of your shoe. Positioning. In the game of futsal, positioning is key. There are two formations that we use predominantly. One is a 2-2, where you have two high men, two back men, and that is how you attack and press the other four players on the outfield of the court. Secondly, we also use a diamond, so you've got a top man, two wide men, and then a back man. So it's set up like that, sort of thing. And the idea of that is to defend, so when the opposition are shifting the ball left to right, your top man is running and your two other back men, they can move, and then the back man can call the shots. The idea is they play round and the ball doesn't come through. This is key to positioning and succeeding in the game of futsal. Some of the other technical requirements for futsal are passing, tackling and dribbling. When passing, you should have your body position at an open angle so that you're not closed in a corner of the court. So when you're open, it allows you to play out in many directions. You should always use the side of your foot when passing the ball. This will give you a clean part of the foot to kick the ball on and get the ball away easy. When tackling, stand up the player, so just eyes on the ball, hand on the shoulder, so that you're watching them, so that you've got them and they can't get away. But obviously don't foul them, i.e. bring them down, pulling the shirt, kicking their legs away. And then lastly, dribbling. When running with the ball, keep the ball close to your feet, lots of touches on the ball, always using the sole of your foot, so you're always in control of the ball. This is key to futsal. I will now talk to you about the choices of passes you make in the game of futsal. Firstly, we're going to start with playing forward. When you play forward in futsal, your movement needs to be positive. And when obviously running with the ball and finding a pass, it must be a positive pass. By positive, I mean going forward. When playing sideways, so across the court, or backwards to your goalkeeper, etc., or to another player behind you, this is seen as a bit passive. However, it's still a good way to attack, defend, but mainly when attacking, we need to use our positive pass, so that will be forward and breaking lines. Like I just touched on, when passing passively, we tend to go sideways and backwards. This is a great way to play, especially when defending, because you can go back, you can use your goalkeeper, but only once, and then he'll play the ball back out, and then you have to obviously try and go forward and get that goal. I'll talk to you about variation. Firstly, in futsal, we use rotations a lot. This is where a player will rotate with another player on the pitch, so it will confuse the opposition, give you better options, find space, create space for other players to drive in and obviously get to the goal, which is the aim of the game. Also, when passing the ball, use variation, so you could either go forwards a couple of times, then back, so you're switching it, you're not always playing forwards or not always playing backwards, make sure you're varying it. So an example of that would be in a game, you'd be playing backwards and then the opposition would go and press you, so you'd play out through the back, so that would be going forwards, positive passing, so it's a good variation about conditions. In futsal, we play in an indoor sports hall, lots of lights, so it's well lit, the floor's always clean, not wet, not slippery, very safe. Does get very hot in there though, so you need to take on lots of fluids. Make sure you get that on before the game, a couple of days prior, so that you're hydrated and don't get dehydrated. Otherwise, this can cause dehydration. If you feel sick, it will be because you haven't drunk enough water. But just make sure you get plenty of rest and make sure you get on the fluids before the game. About the playing surface. In futsal, we play on a court, and the court is very clean, it's not wet, it's not slippery, so it's very safe. But we do use slightly different equipment to normal indoor sports. We wear special shoes, which make sure that we don't slip. They have a flat sole and plenty of grip. about it. I will now talk to you about the technical aspects of volleyball, starting off with serving. A serial skill is where you have the ability to perform a whole movement. For example, when serving, there are not many distractions, etc. So you're purely focused on getting the ball up and then serving it forward. Technical requirements of serving the ball in volleyball. Firstly, lightly throw the ball up in the air. Make sure your elbow is up nice and high and a little bit back. And then once the ball is sort of about your head, a little bit high, taller than your head, you then want to spring up and then a big pat forward. I will now talk to you about the set in volleyball. This is another technical requirement. When setting the ball, it is crucial that you have your fingers like this. You bring them together, you then leave them like that, so you're gripped, so it's nice and tight. And then your thumbs just go there, so like that. And then when the ball comes over from your opponents, you then have to go up like that, and that is called setting the ball, for one of your other players to come up and smash it over there and hopefully win the point. Furthermore, just make sure that you keep your elbows in and that you hold your fingers really, really tight together and your thumbs are tucked in, otherwise this could lead to an injury. The block in volleyball, this is another technical requirement. Firstly, when blocking the ball, it is crucial that you jump up high enough to block the ball. Volleyball nets can be quite high, but as long as you get a good spring on your legs and you're up there to block the ball with your arm or your back or your head, it's going to hurt, but it's still a block. Just make sure that your knees are bent. This is crucial to jumping and how to perform the block effectively. Remember to keep your arms and elbows around your shoulder height, so that this will reduce the time it takes effectively to block the ball. So you're blocking the ball as quick as possible, so they can't get the point. I'll talk to you about the smash that is used in volleyball. This is another technical requirement of the game. To prepare yourself for a smash, players must, because obviously the ball is going to hit down low from the opposition, so you need to get down low and get in a set position, which we spoke about earlier, which is where you get your 10 fingers, all 10 fingers in like that, and then your 2 thumbs, make sure they go like that. And then when hitting the ball, make sure you get down nice and low and slide if you have to, and then get the ball up in the air. And this is how you would effectively return a smash from the opposition. Likewise, if my team, we were about to smash the ball, then if it was me, I'd set the ball, and then my player would run in and then smash, so he'd jump up, knees bent, about shoulder width apart, nice and high, spring up, and then smash down with his forearm. I will now talk to you about positioning in volleyball. I have attached an image, but I will talk to you briefly about it. It is 6v6, and you normally have 3 people up the top by the net and then 3 people at the back. This is so that if it goes behind the first 3, the back 3 can get it, so they can get down and set the ball, and then the front 3 can run forward and smash it. Also, the front 3 are used for blocking, so they can get a quick spring up and block the ball. And likewise for the other team. I will now talk to you about the choice of stroke you would use. For example, depending on the situation and how the game is going and where the ball has gone, it might be necessary to go down and set the ball if they've smashed it, or they may have served the ball, so that means it'll be a nice loopy one. So a player would spot the ball in the air, and then someone would set the ball, and then someone would smash the ball and try and win the point. So it's all depending on how the game's going regarding choice of stroke. About the volley, you would only use this shot really if, for example, you've played it. You're at the end of a rally, so the ball's gone back and forth. Everyone's really, really tired. You've already done a smash. You've blocked the ball, tried to win points, So you just go for a volley, which is a nice big one in the air, and yeah, you try and win the point. Variations in volleyball. In the game of volleyball, the other team isn't going to know what the other team is going to do. It is very tactical, but when it comes to shots, you can't really prepare yourself until you're playing the game. So a variation of this would be the other team in possession of the ball, and then the ball would come over and you'd wait your chance and build up to something you'd do to try and win the point. So it's very tactical and you've got to use your brain a lot. About the conditions you can play volleyball in. As many people know, volleyball is normally played on a beach, but that is normally in like a South American country or a very hot country such as Spain, Brazil, Argentina and so on. But we live in England, which is predominantly rains all the time, very cold, occasionally snows, frost. So people from a colder country such as England, Iceland, if they want to play volleyball, they will play it indoors. And they will play it indoors on a clean court. There will be a net, and from experience it is easier to play on an indoor court than on sand. Like I have mentioned in the conditions to play volleyball in, weather is very similar. For example, if you're playing in a hot country, like I've mentioned, such as Brazil, Spain, Argentina, then you would love to play in the sand because it's going to be really, really hot indoors if you're in a hot country. So most of the time you like to play on the beach, very relaxed, like board shorts on, and for women they wear a bikini. So yeah, that's how people would enjoy it. Otherwise, if you lived in a really rainy country or a country where you haven't got much sand, for example, then you play indoors, where you could use an indoor court and they put up a net for you, and then you could play there, which is still exactly the same as playing on sand apart from the surface. I'm sure it's enjoyable for both. It's just different forms of playing the game. I'll talk to you about the standard of opponent you'll be playing against in volleyball. For example, you'll play different teams every week if you're playing a league or the occasional game, but it will still vary. When playing, if you can spot a weakness in the team, then you should attack this area. This is because that person will be more likely to make mistakes, give the ball away, just is weaker than everyone else, so you kind of focus your areas on that area, focus your efforts on that area, instead of a stronger player who will return all of the balls that you give him. So by attacking a weak area, you should get more points. Now I'll talk to you about variation in badminton. For example, when you serve the shuttlecock, there are a couple of ways of doing it. You can either do a flick serve, which is where you hold the shuttlecock and then just a little flick over the net. The idea of this is to drop it just right in the line, right in the margin of the other team's half, because they will be expecting a big long serve from the back, so you smash it high up in the air, but hopefully you catch them out with a little flick, and that is a form of variation, so varying the serve. I'll talk to you about conditions in badminton. Badminton is played indoors pretty much 99% of the time, but in the Olympics, for example, it's played indoors unless you're just having a game with your mates at the weekend, you want to play outdoors. But when it's played indoors, it's played on a clean court, so it's very safe. There's no water, no sharp objects. It'll be safe, it'll be swept as well, and especially in the Olympics, it'll be a top-notch facility. Like I've just touched on there in the conditions, I'll now talk to you about the playing surface. The playing surface is marked out with lines, tram lines, representing where you should hit the shuttlecock to get the points in the game, and the playing surface is clean. The higher you are in your sport, to the lower you are, the court should always be clean.